Hi guys, and welcome to Sabina's first poetry session. And this is an introduction just to see how this goes basically on YouTube. I'm a writer, I'm a poet, and I'm author of 8 books, 5 bestsellers, and my name is Sabina Adewale. I started to write poetry in January 2018 from a park bench in Gideon Park, and I've gone on to produce 8 solo books and some children poetry, and some of them are adult poetry, basically inspiration and transformation poetry. So I'm using this opportunity to just share a bit of my knowledge with beginners like myself, or people that might be interested in learning more about how to write poetry. I was gifted, and I've gone on to join so many poetry groups, and I've improved my style along the lines, and I've met a lot of poets across the globe, and I've also won recognition on my work. So the first poem we're going to be studying today is A Sonnet. What is a sonnet? A sonnet is a poem with 14 lines, and this could be done in couplets. Basically, you could just do like 2 lines in 7 stanzas, or you might want to write a Shakespearean sonnet, which would mean you could have 8 lines, which would be in couplets of 4s, and then you could have 6 on the end. So you could have 8 lines and 6 lines. And what that would mean is the first 8 lines would more or less be an assumption of what you might want to write about, and then the last 6 lines would mean your response to the 8 lines. Say for instance, you're talking about how to make a cup of coffee. So your first 8 lines could be telling us about the ingredients, where you bought your produce from, how you decided to start making coffee. I love coffee because my mom used to enjoy coffee as a child. And then the 6 lines would tell us basically how you make your coffee. I have to boil the kettle, I have to put the 1 teaspoon in a cup, I have to add milk, I have to add sugar, I set out my teacup, I set out my saucer, I pour the hot water in, I add the milk, and that's how you come about having your content. In other words, to write a sonnet. So I'm just going to give you some background about what a sonnet is, and I'm going to be reading. So a sonnet in English poetry is a poem of 14 lines, usually in iambic pentameter, a line or a verse with 5 metrical feet, each consistent of 1 short syllable followed by 1 long or stressed syllable. For example, 2 households, both alike in dignity, and that's one version of a sonnet. And then the second one here, again I'm going to be reading, is it's a poetic form which originated in the Italian, composed of Holy Roman, is credited with invention of expressing. This term sonnet is derived from an Italian word sonetto, which means little song, and the meaning of this could be a sound. So in the 13th century, it was signified as a poem of 14 lines, just like I explained to you, and it follows a very strict rhythm scheme and structure. And the most popular sonnet is a sonnet by Shakespeare, which I'm not going to be reading today because I would like you to do that research yourself to find out a bit more about sonnet. And the plan would be to go forward to set up poetry online sessions via Zoom, or if the response is not that great, I would carry on doing videos like this on YouTube, and this will inform other people to join my YouTube channel, and then you might be able to join a Zoom session. So if you have any questions, pop them on the chat, and then I could answer them in my next session. I want to ask you to subscribe to my channel in order to get more content. And so today I'm just going to read 1 sonnet to you, which will be from a book from my poetry group, which is Back in Fox's poetry group. And this would be a poet by a sonnet by, let me see, Mary Walsh, this one is from, and she writes about, now the garden comes to life in bloom, sprouting, burgeoning, life springs green and new, with promises of color seen from room, filling up the senses as it grew. And what you would notice is there are rhymes on the end of those lines. I wouldn't be teaching about rhyming in this first session, but in coming sessions I'll teach you how you could rhyme your poems and how you can make your form to be a bit more structured. So her second stanza reads, "These tender plants are nurtured from the gloom of winter's darkness into spring anew, and summer pushes in through the rain and looms. Above our heads the sun dispels the dew." Again, you would notice that dew rhymes with anew, gloom rhymes with looms. So some of the tact about poetry is to let your poem rhyme on the end, and that sounds better for the reader or the listener, because there's a flow to it. The third stanza here is, "Clouds run from its beams, art dawns costume, of vivid greens, pale yellow, reds and blues. From art springs life, like babies from the womb, beds golden red and filled with violets blue." Again, blues rhyme with blue, costume with womb. And then her last two lines, "Stretch before the eye to meet sky blue, completing the picture art renewed." So she's got four stanzas of 4 lines each, which makes your 12 lines, and then she's got the last 2 lines. So you can either do it that way, or you could have 2 lines of 7 stanzas making 14 lines, or you could have it like a Shakespearean octave, which would mean 4 lines of 8, and then 6 to answer the question, like I explained in my first example of how to make coffee. So I hope you have enjoyed my first session, and I hope you can subscribe to this channel, and hopefully you get to see more poetry from me. And my name is Sabina Adewale. I'm a life coach, a poet, a writer, and I'm here to teach you some poetry. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you. Look forward to seeing you in the next session. And it's Sabina.